Think of the last non-fiction book you read and ask yourself how much of it can you remember right now. Probably is between 20 to 30%. The forgetting curve founded by the psychologist Herman Ebbinghaus found out that within 7 days of learning new material, most of us forget 70% of what we just learned. I pitied so much of the time lost that I developed a new system for me that let me actually retain more information but also made me apply what I learned faster when it comes to reading UI UX design books. So when it comes to reading UI UX design books, my system has 3 different phases. So let's go to the phase 1. The purpose of this phase is to determine if the book we are reading deserves extra attention. Because this whole system is much more intensive than actually reading the book once, we want to make sure the books that we are reading are worth of our investment. So let's say you have a book like this, the non-designer design book, you bought it off the shelf. What we are going to do is skim the book very fast in 15 minutes so that we can determine the content of the book, kind of type of the book it is, and kind of what we want to do with it. So what I would do is I would read the back cover here. I'm like, okay, so it is actually written by a 20-25 year designer. That is good. It's not an amateurish book, and this is about the fundamentals of design. Then once I read the back cover, I would actually go through the introduction if it has one. This book doesn't. And then, and this is the crucial piece, I would skim through each chapter, basically just look around like this, but I would actually read the last page of each chapter. And this is the most important part when it comes to skimming, because the last 2 pages usually are where the author in non-fiction book summarizes what the chapter has just taught. If I'm at proximity and I go to the, let's say, end chapter, there is literally a heading called Summary of Proximity. Once we are done with skimming the book, we should have a pretty good idea of what type of a book it is, and there are usually 2 types. Either a book is theoretical or it is practical. A theoretical book will answer the question of what that thing is. Meaning, if we were reading The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, we are actually learning some theories about design and how to design better, let's say, user experiences. But when we actually were just skimming through the non-designer design guide, it is much more about how, because it is a practical book. It is showing you how to design better, let's say, graphic design or UI designs through fundamentals of design. Now that we are on phase 2, what we are trying to do is to basically go through a deeper reading to increase either our understanding or find out the types of things that we have to practice. So if we are reading a theoretical book like Don Norman's The Design of Everyday Things, when I'm reading through and find a passage that I like throughout the book, I am not just highlighting, which would be passive reading. I am actually taking notes and rewording what I just learned in my own words so I can understand the content better. The purpose for me when I'm actually writing these things is so that I can reach the understanding level of the author who wrote the book. If we were to read a practical book like the non-designer's design guide, what I'm really trying to do is find out places where I can practice what I learned. So I'm literally using a symbol like A, which is an action item, like do this exercise or do this homework. And it might not be all the homeworks, it should be just the parts where I am weak at and I want to get better. Once you have actually done this for both of the options, we can move to phase 3, which is for theoretical books, it would be for me to write kind of an essay of, let's say, 1,000 words where I am summarizing the ideas I learned, and this lets me kind of see the bird's eye view of the book, but also summarize and find out what kind of areas I found most useful. And I can also reference later, because my blog or let's say your tool you use like Notion, so that you can over time reference your one essay with another essay where you can link them, and the things you learn kind of starts to network with each other and it becomes more creative and your understanding increases. For practical books, I usually began opening Figma and basically applying the homeworks and practicing, let's say, what I just learned. If it's about alignment, I am literally creating a design scheme and I'm practicing what I learned about alignment, which should be like, instead of center alignment, I should go left alignment. And that's kind of how I read UX design books to improve myself, guys. If you like this video and you want to find out more UX design books that you want to implement this system with, watch this video next.